Start.
Hentai. Few things on the modern internet are as destructive. That's not an exaggeration. We live in a time where the average person takes it for granted that porn and hentai don't harm them, when in reality all scientific research shows they do. So how did we get here, and what can be done about it? Anime is the definition of a medium with big ups and big downs. On one hand, it can be a beautiful art style that produces brilliant shows. There are thousands of
Okay, so while this video buffers, I just want to say that that scientific research is actually true. Like there's a but like like consuming a lot of adult content can actually give you literal brain damage. I'm serious right now, and I mean literal brain damage. It's nothing.
anime fans who enjoy their favorite anime without making it weird. Anime can produce many meaningful discussions about themes and messages. But just as the culture surrounding anime has its highs, it has its dark lows.
Very bad.
Hentai is the darkest of them all. In 2020, I made a video titled
Actually, I think the lolicon and pedophilia is the lowest of the low we can go, but I but let him go on.
How Pornography Destroys Your Mind. Everything I said in that video is as true today as it was then. In fact,
Wait, hold up. The audio is going to be trash if I don't do this. I just need to fix something for a moment. Okay, now I believe the audio should be far better now. It should definitely be better.
since I made that video, even more research on the negative effects of pornography has come out.
Damn.
The mountain of proof continues to grow ever higher, and there's no end in sight. First of all, for people not acquainted with what hentai means, here's its definition. Hentai is a work of anime or manga, or any similar medium, that contains sexual or pornographic art. To simplify, anime is a popular Japanese art style. Hentai is anime depicting sex. For this reason, the hentai industry could basically be viewed as the dark counterpart of the anime industry. While anime and manga focus mainly on actually telling stories, hentai focuses on being sexual material. Now, to be clear here, hentai is a form of pornography and meets the dictionary definition of it. However, despite this, there remains a vocal minority who seem to think that somehow hentai doesn't have the same negative effects as real porn. They've convinced themselves that because hentai is drawn, masturbating to it will somehow have no effect on them. Not only is this false, but I'll be making the case in this video that hentai is probably even worse for you than actual pornography. A bold claim, but give me the chance to make my case. And now, with the stage all set, let's get into exactly how hentai destroys your mind. To the average person, hentai probably doesn't sound like it's an issue outside of Japan. But in the last 2 decades, that's all changed. Hentai websites generate tens of millions of views from people across the planet, not just Asia. Pornhub, the biggest porn site in the world, released a report in 2019 that found that hentai was its most searched category.
And that category has never gone down in the past 6 years. It's almost amazing if it wasn't so terrible.
Any online anime fan has heard of someone who's watched hentai. Hentai websites are widely shared.
Actually, that is true. I have known several people, especially in college and high school, who have watched hentai. I don't watch it myself because that shit is depraved, but yeah.
Anywhere anime is discussed. Hentai may have started in Japan, but in a way it's also not truly Japanese. Before 1945, Japan enforced strict censorship laws that forbade depiction of the sex acts shown in hentai.
Okay, wait. This is actually the first time I'm hearing of this, because adult Japanese art have existed for hundreds or even thousands of years. Now that is actually crazy.
Japan, like much of the world, had strict moral values that the population was expected to abide by. It was only after World War II, when a liberal government was enforced on Japan by the United States, that hentai began to emerge. The US occupied the country and rewrote the Japanese constitution, repealing Japan's former censorship laws. From that point on, slowly but surely, pornography of all kinds was shown to the population under the guise of freedom of speech. One might look at it as a sick way for the occupiers to pacify the Japanese people. But regardless of its origins, the problem of hentai is no longer small or distinctly Japanese. Today, it's gone international. If you don't see any problem with this, let's recap just some of the scientifically proven negative effects of online porn. High chance of addiction, increased erectile dysfunction, loss of motivation, desensitization to normal sex acts, dulling of dopamine receptors, higher chance of divorce, and much more. If you're someone who ever watched porn or hentai on a regular basis,
The highest chance of divorce is the one I can tell you is most likely going to happen. Trust me.
be honest with yourself, you likely felt some or all of these problems. One common argument defenders of hentai make is that hentai
these
itself isn't
degenerates.
harmful to a person, but rather the harm supposedly comes from their own shame for watching it. This is a sophisticated tactic of blaming the victims and deflecting blame from the true source of the problem. It's like saying to someone whose health is being destroyed by cigarettes that it's only happening because they're ashamed that they used the cigarettes. Other people acknowledge the harm of hentai on the individual, but defend it by saying that it only affects the person viewing it and has no effect on broader society. But as I'll demonstrate in this video, that's clearly wrong. It doesn't even pass a common sense check. Hentai is broadcast openly on the internet to millions, not to the individual. Japanese sociologist Kamio Ito studied hentai's effects for years and found in his research that it was causing men to retreat from real life into a world of imagination. Such men were no longer interested in real women or real relationships and were content to spend their days masturbating to fantasies. The effects of this trend on society are predictably catastrophic. Japan is of course the main creator and exporter of hentai, and it's viewed there more than any other country. Surveys there in recent years found that 70% of Japanese men aged 18 to 34 aren't in a relationship, and about half of this group have no interest in one. Japanese culture
Oh yeah, there's something I need to dwell about that. I was actually online on X, and someone from Japan actually mentioned that Japanese men much rather stay at home, watch anime, and play video games than actually go and talk to real women. And when I mentioned that once, several Japanese women actually agreed with me. I'm on stream.
has become full of bizarre and freakish sexual things, such as public masturbation booths and buying smellable panties from vending machines. This all matches with Kamio Ito's theory that hentai is causing Japanese youth to retreat from the real world into a fantasy world. And while we obviously can't blame hentai for all of this, it's certainly a key part. The trends in Japan, of course, can be extrapolated to the rest of the world. As I said, hentai can be addictive to anyone, not just the Japanese. And if you think that all sounded bad, buckle up, because we're just getting started. Something that makes hentai potentially even worse than regular porn is that, due to being animated and cartoonish, it's especially likely to draw in young people. Remember that the average age people first see porn online is the age of 11. A young person on the internet might stumble upon hentai because the animation style looks like other cartoons they've watched. To make matters even worse, pornographers often use characters from popular kids shows like Pokemon, Dragon Ball Z, and even Western shows in extreme porn. This draws in younger and younger people to make a habit of watching hentai. And all of this is happening at the same time that actual scientific research has found that almost nothing stunts a young person's sexual development more than using online porn. Now, a hentai defender might say, "But their parents just shouldn't let them watch it." That's true, but this ignores that not all parents take proper care of their kids. If they did, we wouldn't be in this situation. And some simply don't understand just how bad the problem of porn and hentai on the internet is. No matter what, by leaving this issue completely unregulated, Millions of kids are being left to the wolves. Hentai.
I think this is probably the reason why the UK is beginning to crack down on adult content or of any and every kind. It's because they're finally actually doing something, but because it comes at the expense of other people, people are just yelling and crying about it. Especially the surge in VPNs that's going on right now.
Advocates, predictably, have no recourse for these people left behind. The truth is that people that advocate for hentai want more people addicted.
Why am I not surprised Sydney would be in this? Like, we literally just saw her husband a few seconds ago. We are now seeing Sydney here too. What the?
They want more people who are just like them. Speaking of children, we should now talk about how hentai actually gets much darker than just showing sex. We can start with one of the most disgusting examples, the lolicon genre.
Oh,
now the term
here we go.
lolicon itself should immediately ring alarm bells to any normal person. This is because it's based on the phrase lolita, which is a synonym for a young prepubescent girl, and this genre is exactly as twisted as you would expect. It shows sex involving young prepubescent girls, from preteens down to toddlers. Lolicon hentai essentially glorifies and popularizes child sex abuse to a wide audience. What are the effects of this? Well, we do know that over time viewers of porn are desensitized to the acts they watch. When you couple this with lolicon, it paints a dark picture. Psychotherapist Sam Luley emphasized how hentai can desensitize people's minds. As a psychotherapist who specializes in sexuality, one trend I've seen over the years is how prolonged viewing of hentai can eventually impact one's arousal template. In other words, what people used to find arousing may no longer be enough, and the more deviant forms of sexualization become the new norm of arousal.
So basically, you actually reaches the point where not the normal stuff, like the missionary and the normal stuff, doesn't quite entice you anymore, which basically makes it little to impossible to find normal women attractive anymore. Sexually. Ouch. That sucks.
He wrote about lolicon specifically. What can be problematic is that these types of cartoon depictions of willing, childlike sexual encounters normalize children as appropriate sexual partners. When a child is sexualized, the old social norms that protect children as off-limits are chipped away at and blurred. Thus, any kind of objectification of children as sex objects can either legitimize child sexual abuse or minimize its impact. Well, you heard the psychotherapist. Let's trust the science. But sadly, even this lowest form of hentai has its defenders.
This 12-year-old girl, yes, maybe a 12-year-old girl, but it is just a drawing of a fictional 12-year-old girl. Nobody can do anything directly to this 12-year-old girl that will put them in harm's way in any kind of physical or emotional sense, because this 12-year-old girl you speak of never existed in the first place.
Well done addressing an argument that absolutely no one is making. The issue is the viewer, not the character. But people who argue in favor of this do not do so in good faith. They are essentially all either terminally online porn addicts or actual pedophiles. You might find them on websites like Twitter, where their feed is nothing but them arguing with normal people who are against sexualizing children. One trend I've noticed with these people is how they make being a lolicon their entire personality. It's all they talk about. They have destroyed their life and identity so much with their porn habit that it's now all they can identify with. It would be a sad and pitiable state, if not for the fact that they desire to pull everyone else down with them. There's one particular case that should be noted here. On YouTube, there's a highly viewed video defending lolicon by a user named Mr. Cynical. He also goes by the name Burn or Rika, and you'll soon see why he's always changing his name. One of the key arguments of his video is that fiction supposedly doesn't impact a person in reality. Never mind all the science I just talked about. He claims that someone can be sexually attracted to animated children without being sexually attracted to real children. Well, Mr. Cynical later admitted to engaging in sex tourism in Thailand with child prostitutes.
Everyone's like, oh, wow. You raped these children. I'm like, no, it's fuck rape, that
well, you still fucked them, right?
Yeah, I had sex with them, just.
And wait, that was in
Thailand.
8
Yes.
freaking ways.
Yeah.
He also posted sexual.
I also just want to point out that I heard of a Mushoku Tensei fan that was actually caught doing during well, how should I say this? You know that thing that they basically that yeah, you know that thing where they basically trick pedophiles into coming into to looking for kids, not knowing that it's actually truly been planted. Yeah, that's actually. He was actually a Mushoku Tensei fan and he was a pedo. Crazy, right?
Pictures of his underage sister's feet to the internet. This man spent an entire 40-minute video arguing how viewing child hentai doesn't make someone a pedophile, and then ended up being an active pedophile. Understand that this is the kind of person who defends lolicon.
Wow.
That's what you call ironic.
Now with hentai, it isn't even just lolicon that's the problem. Hentai is full of disgusting and unnatural fetishes that it sells to its viewers. Rape, torture, bestiality, gore, it's all there. The hentai industry is actively creating people whose views of sex are utterly horrifying. And this doesn't just impact minors. As has been discussed, adults also suffer from many negative health outcomes, both physical and mental, from watching it. Hentai also shouldn't be seen as just a male problem. It certainly affects men the worst, but women, especially young women, are also badly impacted by it. Take this story of a girl whose boyfriend introduced her to hentai when she was just 16. I'll never forget the first hentai video he linked me. As an innocent girl who had rarely seen a naked body, the exaggerated childlike women and bold, confident men portrayed in the cartoons ensnared me at once. The more I watched, the more violent ones I saw, the darker my thoughts about sex and relationships became. One day, I asked the boy if he would ever tie me up like the boys in hentai. He replied with the dirtiest, most graphically explained message about exactly what he planned to do. And there, I started with roleplay. Eventually, she did get out of that lifestyle, but she concludes by saying, "The scars of that secret online life dig deep." So much for fiction having no effect on real life. Now, as usual in these videos, I want to debunk a few popular myths. But what about wholesome hentai? There isn't any such thing. All hentai depicts sex with the goal of inspiring lust in the viewer. If someone's addicted to vanilla porn, it doesn't change the fact that they're still addicted to porn and it's still negatively affecting their lives. But it's just pixels! This is an obvious bad faith argument. Media of any kind is just pixels. Pixels are used to convey messages, and the substance of what's being portrayed is what matters. The effect it has on your mind doesn't magically disappear just because it's animated as opposed to being real life. Life is hard, just let people use their hentai. Life is hard, and hentai is one of the things that makes people's lives even worse.
So that is literally the same thing as in saying life is hard, just let this guy smoke some powder. Or life is hard, he can just smoke all the pot he wants. That's just wrong. That's BS. Absolute and total BS.
One of the final things worth saying about hentai is how it taints anime as a whole. Anime culture has the potential to be so much better than it currently is. When people who don't know anime assume the worst about it, it's usually because they think it's all hentai. A lot of people don't even realize that not all anime is pornographic or even sexual. Anime has gained a lot more popularity in the last decade, but even that hasn't caused this negative association to go away. And frankly, it's because anime culture hasn't earned a better reputation. A lot of anime fans have become, for lack of a better word, coomers. Popular anime YouTubers don't help this by shilling hentai and other porn in their videos. You've likely seen their half-naked clickbait thumbnails before. Exactly. Much like the mutually destructive relationship between the coomer and the porn star, many anime YouTubers use hentai to attract their audience. This is not good. Look, if you care about anime, you should recognize that it could be doing so much better than this.
You looking for a fight with that sign? Franchising lollies? Pedophilia? You really looking for a fight?
I'll draw this video to a close as I did How Pornography Destroys Your Mind by offering some solutions to the hentai problem. The most important thing that you need to understand is that things don't have to be this way. We don't have to live like this. We don't have to live in a society where people are exposed to horrifying sexual images on a daily basis. The first solution is obvious. If you personally look at hentai, quit immediately. Save yourself from the black hole it's pulling you into. It's not too late. You have the strength to quit if you put your heart and mind into it. There are more stories online every single day of people who successfully kicked their porn and hentai habits. Starve hentai creators the money they gather from poisoning you and millions of other people. Now obviously, at the same time, individuals quitting isn't the only thing that needs to be done. Hentai has become a society-wide problem, and thus we need to address it at the society-wide level. Major social media companies need to be pressured to change their policies and to remove hentai content. Some people will claim this can't be done, but it's already been done on websites like Instagram and Gab, both of which ban porn. Web service providers should also pull down hentai sites as well as other websites that continue to create and distribute it. But that's just in the private sector. Governments and voters can also act. Courts and laws must make it clear that hentai, especially in its worst forms, is not protected speech and can be banned. After all, for centuries free speech did not cover porn, and it was always understood that an individual's right to look at porn was trumped by the community's right to restrict it. To people who say that laws like this can't be enforced, I once again say that they already are being enforced. As we speak, many governments ban pornography and are quite effective at keeping it from going mainstream. Even we in America already enforce bans on child pornography. In the rare cases where someone gets it, they're thrown in prison and made an example out of. We merely need to expand that. Outlawing hentai should be part of a greater moral revival, where we take every measure in our power to get Western society back on track from the moral wasteland it's currently in. No solution here is perfect, but let's try our best to strive and achieve what those before us have failed to do. This has been Pax. Leave comments below letting me know your thoughts on all this. If anyone watching has stories of how they overcame a hentai habit, please share them. I and many others would love to read them.
Okay, so with all of that being said, I have to note that I am completely, and I mean completely, behind the porn ban in the UK. Okay, I am completely behind it. I don't care what anybody says. I do not care about their opinions. I just have to say that I'm completely behind it, no matter what it is. Okay, I am behind the ban. I completely believe it's going to be a far better place for society. Yeti. And it should be international. It should be everywhere. Okay, that's all I need to say. All right.